You only need to know me. I will be the one.
Why does Monkey D. Dragon resemble Rox D. Xebec? I don't think Dragon is Rox's clone, no, but I think their ambition is somewhat aligned, in pursuit of forbidden knowledge, and perhaps changing the world order. Dragon has a relationship with Vegapunk. They have clearly been working together in some capacity, sustaining occasional communication. Kuma is tied to Dragon and Vegapunk, and Kuma was helping Vegapunk's research. Okay, the taboo pirate Rox, chasing after forbidden knowledge, fighting against the world government and the celestial dragons on God Valley. Does that not sound like something a revolutionary would do? Now I get it, some of you are wondering, how could Rox be some sort of revolutionary? No, not the Revolutionary Army, he's not a member of that or a founder. That's obviously Monkey D. Dragon, but aside from the Revolutionary Army that we know today, Rox could have been some kind of freedom fighter. How could a pirate like Rox also be a revolutionary? Well, while the Marines have Sword, and Sword is revolutionary in some way, at least we believe it to be, to change the character of the Marines. And beyond that, Luffy is also a pirate, and alongside Nico Robin, he is the only pirate that has openly declared war on the world government, just like the pirate known as Xebec. Think about it for a moment, turning things upside down, the government lying to the One Piece world. Devils are in some cases good in this story, Oda's story, the D-Clan, the Scholars of Ohara. The Rox pirate, Big Mom, had a dream to change the world as a child, but joined the Rox pirates for whatever reason as an adult woman. Why? Unless her dream was supported by her captain, Rox D. Xebec himself. Kaido wanting to wage war on the world aligns with Rox being a terrorist against the world government, and perhaps Rox D. Xebec declared war on the world government long before Monkey D. Dragon or Monkey D. Luffy ever did. In every era there is a man, or comes a man, that carries the will of D and is willing to challenge this world. Do you think Rox was labeled a terrorist, just like the Scholars of Ohara were labeled devils for chasing taboo knowledge? Is it not interesting that Nico Robin, the devil's child, and so the child of a devil, is also chasing after taboo knowledge? The Poneglyphs, and we don't know who Nico Robin's father is. Is it not curious how those chasing taboo knowledge might be tied together? The Rox pirates appear to have been cloned, or at least many of them have been, cloned by people studying forbidden knowledge. Out of all the pirates in the world to clone, why would you clone the Rox pirates? We know Stussy and Miss Buckingham, who might be Miss Bakken, based on the romanization of her name compared to the English Miss Bakken, Miss Buckin, Miss Buckingham. Weevil looks like a clone of Whitebeard, or an attempt at it, and both Miss Bakken and Kizaru say Whitebeard's bloodline endures within Weevil. Bloodline, and so lineage, and lineage factors, and so DNA. Momonosuke's Devil Fruit is a clone of Kaido's dragon. Why is it that Ohara, and researching taboo subjects, seems to unite Vegapunk, Monkey D. Dragon, and Rox D. Xebec, who just so happened to have disappeared while his former crewmates were cloned by Mads and Vegapunk? Was Rox D. Xebec the original revolutionary? Was he a scholar? And most notably, was Rox D. Xebec an archaeologist or researcher in a way like Blackbeard is said to be by Oda? If Blackbeard had a real-life occupation, could Rox D. Xebec be the explanation as to why all this cloning is going on? Goldie Roger, his rival, once said, "I'm not gonna die, partner, because someone will inherit my will." I guess we could add to that. Inherited will is the likely answer, although I made a video on Roger's death and gravesite where he was buried, so check that out. You can see it on the screen. But Roger is Xebec's rival. They were perhaps each other's greatest rivals, and Roger once said, "I'm not gonna die, partner. Inherited will is the likely answer." As a parallel, what if Rox D. Xebec said, "I'm not gonna die either, because of science"? Science is one answer as to how Rox might have survived to continue his own revolution, except Monkey D. Dragon is a pacifist, fighting in the name of peace. Rox is very different than that. Rox D. Xebec, as Sengoku told us, might have actually been a terrorist, and being a terrorist is entirely different than being a revolutionary, to an extent. A terrorist that spreads chaos around the world, just like Blackbeard is currently doing, devouring and swallowing everything like he did on Marineford. But just look at Rox D. Xebec's crew in terms of terrorism. Kaido, whose background shared his philosophy of justice and equality being defined by war, Kaido also being the false Joy Boy, Big Mom having a dream of equality, but using force to impose her will on others, and so terrorism. I think the movie on Shiki is self-explanatory as to his beliefs, especially the fact that he once attacked Marineford just like a terrorist would do. All of it does align with changing the world order, which might have been something that Rox was after in his pursuit to become king of the world. What are the chances Rox was cloned so he could survive and continue terrorizing the world? A Will of D carrier, the D that brings a storm, an endless storm, the D that is the enemy of the gods, a devil with the intention of overthrowing God, the king of the world, Imu-sama. Okay, so if Rox didn't die, as Sengoku says, Rox is no longer alive to speak of it, but that might not be true in some capacity. Then what can we expect? Well, let's dive into the madness of the following theory. So I want to preface the video by reading to you the following from the National Library of Medicine's Center for Biotechnology Information, when questions arise over whether clones will look and behave exactly the same. It says, even if clones are genetically identical with one another, they will not be identical in physical or behavioral characteristics, because DNA is not the only determinant of these characteristics. A pair of clones will experience different environments and nutritional inputs while in the uterus, and they would be expected to be subject to different inputs from their parents, society, and life experiences as they grow up, thus resulting in differences in a clone or a pair of clones. With that in mind, if the Rox pirates were cloned, their clones won't look exactly like them, and it's possible maybe to clone certain traits of a person, but nothing else it would seem. So take a look at Big Mom and Joy Bonnie. Bonnie because Vegapunk's commentary at the start of chapter 1072 hints at Bonnie maybe being a clone, although I've seen some like Joe3Skull on Twitter, shout out to him, I seem to suggest that Bonnie is a clone of someone that died in the past, someone important to Kuma maybe, and Bonnie or that person was given their memories to bring them back to life. So Bonnie is a clone of not just a body but also a memory. Who knows if Bonnie's current body belongs to that person's memory, or if she was also cloned from someone else, but we'll dive into that possible idea now. But Bonnie might have been a clone of someone that died in the past and was given their memories to bring them back to life. This is a recurring theme that you see in the story, the concept of bringing back the dead or immortality and preservation, and it ties into something Hogback said to Chopper during Thriller Bark about the ambition of humanity, but we'll get to that shortly. Strangely, immortality is believed to be tied to Imu-sama and the National Treasure. Strangely, Rox wanted to be king of the world, just like Imu is, and now many are wondering if he really died. But also strangely, bringing back the dead, cloning technology and memories. Maybe if people stop fighting over energy and revenge killings due to the cycle of hatred, that can bring about world peace. If you can bring back the dead, if you can bring the dead back to life, there would be no need to seek out revenge and to wage war, at least for that issue. Bringing back the dead, personality, memories and all. But Big Mom is similar to Joy Bonnie, otherwise known as Big Eater. Both Big Mom and Bonnie are big eaters. They like food. Her devil fruit does not appear to require her to eat a lot, and yet Big Mom gained weight over time. Then again, Big Mom consumes a lot of souls, and that is the main reason I think she gained weight. The weight of the soul is mentioned in chapter 1072. Big Mom was still eating a lot when she was young and slim though, just like Joy Bonnie. But Big Mom was largely inactive as a pirate, chilling on her territory, unopposed as a Yonko until she met Luffy. This was of course after the fall of the Rox Pirates, and so maybe not overusing her powers that often. When Big Mom uses her abilities too much, we've seen her lose weight and become skinny, right? When she doesn't have a food supply of souls to eat. Again, the weight of the soul. Now, Bonnie's powers might explain why she doesn't get fat. Just like Luffy's devil fruit ability and physical exertion explains why he is able to eat so much food against Cracker and convert it to energy. He went from fat Gear 4 Tank Man Luffy in no time, back to normal, back to skinny Luffy. So Bonnie's devil fruit ability might be keeping her slim, and if Rox Diesebek has a clone, maybe the clone won't look exactly like Rox either. Just like Bonnie, if a clone of somebody else, whether Big Mom or somebody else from the past, it might not look exactly like them. But we'll have to wait and see on that. Moving on, it's clear that Kuma was helping Vegapunk with other experiments beyond the Pacifista. concepts pertaining to the metaphysical, what is possibly there but not really, such as the weight of memories as well as the weight of the human soul. Yes, this stood out to me in chapter 1072. Why ask about Kuma's abilities? Why would you want to research pushing out memories? Why would you want to uncover the weight of the human soul? Because you want to prove that the soul really does exist. And if it does, what can you do with it? Could you give it to another body after death? Now there's something mind-blowing, and please share this video if you are blown away by the connections made so far in this following connection. Vegapunk was said to be a failure, or his experiments were. That's clearly a lie. His failures are simply glitches or unfinished products. For example, Momonosuke was not a failure. Vegapunk is a genius perfectionist, considers getting an A- on a test a failure. He doesn't even want a 98. He wants the entire A. 100% of the grade. Maybe even an A+. And so Dragon Momonosuke was a failure because he was the color pink, whereas Kaido is a blue dragon. Okay, at the start of 1072, Vegapunk is describing someone, maybe a clone, and whether clones can truly be considered human. Why? Well, because there's a real scientific or sci-fi debate over the human soul, and I'm sure Oda's a big consumer of sci-fi, as well as history. But does the soul exist, and if so, does a clone have a soul? Moreover, real clones do not appear to have the memories of the person they were copied from. You could argue that Vegapunk views these clones as failures even though they are successful. Maybe Stussy is considered a success because the memories of Miss Bakken or Miss Buckingham might have been given to her by Kuma's power. But it doesn't appear that she has Miss Bakken's soul, at least not yet. So Stussy is still her own person. But what about Blackbeard and his strange body, which is always hinted at experimentation? If the Rocks pirates are all cloned to an extent, Kaido's blue dragon and Momonosuke's pink dragon, Whitebeard and the supposed failure that is Weevil, Stussy has a successful genetic clone of Miss Bakken who might have given her memories. Then what about Rox Dizabek? Well, everyone is now thinking Blackbeard might be a clone of Rox Dizabek, but I would argue if that's true, that he's an actual success, or maybe still a failure. Either way, Blackbeard might be a success. If the soul of Rox was extracted and placed into him, now he is no longer a clone, but is Rox himself. The theories of Goldie Roger or Rox Dizabek surviving death because of Conqueror's Haki and will and the spirit enduring. Well, now we have science and devil fruit abilities being used to bring back the dead. Going back to Dr. Hogback from West Blue, who, because he is a genius surgeon from West Blue based on the One Piece wiki that I read, some are wondering if Dr. Hogback is the one that uncovered the weight of the human soul. Hogback tells Chopper during Thriller Bark that mankind's oldest dream is rebirth of the deceased. Yes, humans can be revived, which ties into what Doflamingo told Law about mankind's oldest dream of immortality and the power of Law's Ope Ope no Mi, the immortality surgery. Both Law and Dr. Hogback are doctors, obviously, but living forever is the common theme here. Some way, somehow, cloning or eternal life. I would add that Dr. Hogback saying bringing the dead back to life is mankind's oldest dream ties into Blackbeard saying dreams never die. Perhaps Rock's dream came true, the dream of bringing the dead himself back to life. Dreams never die. To dream to live forever, or the dream to come back from the dead. And so Rox Dizabek, what this means for him, who wanted to be king of the world, maybe that is similar to Doflamingo wanting the power to control the world. Let's also take a moment to realize what Hogback said to Chopper in this same panel, that humans have more freedom, and even zombies should be treated as humans. Their lives matter too, just like the beginning of chapter 1072 and the question as to whether the life of a clone matters. Mind you, Hogback and Moria experimented with putting shadows into the dead, into dead bodies. And this is approximate to second souls, your second soul, being put into a body. Shadows are second souls to people. Maybe Vegapunk wanted to see if he could bring back the dead by giving a clone an actual soul. Will they then be accepted as human, or do they not have souls of their own? Blackbeard will be a failure in Vegapunk's mind, maybe, like the others, except he isn't if he also has the soul of Rox and the memories of Rox Dizabek. Meaning Blackbeard would be a true clone. Not a clone at all, but an actual copy of that person. Mind, body, and soul, memories, DNA, and the weight of Rox Dizebek's soul. And so that takes us to the script that I recorded before chapter 1072 drops, and so sorry if the video's a little too long, I had to add this back in here. Blackbeard's potential memories, or pursuit of memories. Rox Dizebek's memories. After all, a man only dies when he is forgotten. Rox has not been forgotten. He continues to exist in the memories of a few legends from that era. And when we tie in Blackbeard to this, isn't it strange that Blackbeard also went to Drum Kingdom? And isn't it strange that the concept that a man only dies when he's forgotten, this was also introduced during Drum Kingdom. Blackbeard, Rox, Drum Kingdom. A man only dies when he is forgotten. And since we've compared Luffy to Rox Dizebek, when Luffy was falling from Onigashima, Kaido appeared to be thinking of his captain, Zebek. And while reminiscing, Kaido said, "If they don't see a body, their belief in you will never die. They'll always believe that you'll come back to fight another day, eventually." If Luffy can come back stronger than ever, as we saw during Wano, to defeat Kaido, why can't the captain of Rox, Zebek? Do you remember when Oda went on break and released a mini-series of in-between chapters, you could call it, volumes or pieces titled Road to Laugh Tale? Do you recall what Oda said about Blackbeard and his plans? So in 1053.2, Oda says, 2 emperors have fallen and now only 2 remain. What do they have in mind during this turbulent era? What do they have planned? What does Blackbeard in particular have planned? It also says that Blackbeard is expanding his influence with cunning plots, endlessly running amok and searching for more power. Apparently Blackbeard's appetite for power knows no bounds as he aims for the very top. Whether Pirate King or King of the World, as we know from 1053.1, that Blackbeard is the man who uses Rox Dizebek's name for his ship, and Zebek wanted to be King of the World, inheriting Rox's will. It is said that Zebek's designs, the plans of Rox Dizebek, might still threaten the world, which is something I overlooked when first reading this part of the volume. What plans exactly? What designs or plans did Rox Dizebek have that Oda is alluding to enduring to this day? We do know that Rox's ambition led him to violate the world's greatest taboos while chasing forbidden knowledge. In terms of Blackbeard, it's worth mentioning that the God Valley incident was said by Oda in 1053.1 to be a crossroads of fate, which is something I believe is regularly associated with Blackbeard's crew. The word fate, this concept or notion of fate. I think we heard it during the fight with Ace as well as during Impel Down, from one of Blackbeard's crew members, as if Blackbeard as the potential inheritor of Rox's will, fighting the son of Rox's enemy Goldie Roger was somehow fated. For obvious reasons, right? But also the God Valley incident being a crossroads of fate ties into Blackbeard saying it was fate, that his Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit ability chose him. A twist of fate that it chose him. Is it not then also fate that Garp once did battle alongside the great pirate Goldie Roger to defeat the Rox pirates and their captain Zebek? And this same Monkey D. Garp, albeit somewhat older, is now heading to Hachinosu, or Beehive Island, to do battle with the Man of Darkness himself, someone that seems to have inherited Rox Dizebek's will. Maybe there's a way for us to predict Blackbeard's future via this concept of fate and fated encounters. But is it not also strange that, like Zebek, Blackbeard is also scheming, planning something? What his ultimate goal is we don't yet know. But we do know, as I mentioned, that Blackbeard is after power. Like the hippo that he's been compared to in one of the cover pages, he's always hungry, like the Hungry Hippo game. Like Blackbeard said on Marineford, that he would swallow and devour everything, again like a hungry hippo. It's possible his encounter with Monkey D. Garp will lead him to eat or devour his third and final devil fruit ability, if he does not already have a final devil fruit. And if not a final devil fruit ability, something else entirely that Blackbeard is after, that will give Blackbeard the ultimate advantage in his quest to become Pirate King. So Garp is going after Blackbeard to rescue Koby, who was captured. We have long wondered, why Koby? Why would Blackbeard capture him? It seems like the last time Blackbeard captured someone, Porcus the Ace, it was not just to become Shishibukai or a warlord of the government, but to lure Whitebeard, Ace's captain, out to Marineford, where he could be weakened. Understand, there are a ton of pirates on Beehive Island, and from the looks of it, Garp is largely going alone in terms of who is strong enough to take on the Blackbeard crew. But I'm sure some other Marines or Sword members will come along and we'll finally get to see how strong the Vice Admirals really are, as well as this mysterious character named Bogard, who is the right-hand man of Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp. But Bogard's own rank is currently unknown. Given Bogard's sword, I would love to see him fight against Shiryu, and see what Shiryu can really do. But going back to what I was saying about Ace being used to lure Whitebeard out so he could be weakened and so Blackbeard could steal Whitebeard's Devil Fruit ability, it seems like Blackbeard is luring Garp out with Kobe, maybe to find a Devil Fruit this time around, or for some other purpose. In 1053.1, Rox Dizabek is called the Mythical Rox. Did God Valley have mythical or god devil fruits? Was Rox Dizabek a mythical Zoan, and does Blackbeard currently have, or is Blackbeard after his power? Why was Rox Dizabek considered or able to be Goldie Roger's strongest foe? An adversary even greater than Whitebeard, who is considered to be the world's strongest man with the power of earthquakes. What sort of power, hockey, or devil fruit ability did Rox have to earn that recognition? Is Blackbeard looking for that power, or the location of that island? It is said that God Valley was erased from the annals of history, never to appear on a map again, but understand it was wiped from the maps of the world. But that doesn't mean it doesn't still exist. Just like the island of Laugh-Tale does, it's possible God Valley, or the remnants of God Valley are out there still, or whatever Blackbeard might be searching for, that might have survived the destruction of that island, such as an ancient weapon or a powerful devil fruit as I mentioned. As for Rox, a man only dies when he is forgotten. Clearly the world has not forgotten the terror of Xebec entirely. But just because you forget, it doesn't mean that person or that land doesn't still exist, especially in someone else's memories, which takes us to one of the greatest theories I've seen on what Garp is about to do, and it comes from Joe 3 Skull Theories on Twitter, so be sure to give him a follow at the link below. This theory is wild, but likely, maybe. But again, shout out to Joe 3 Skull Theories on Twitter. So here's what Joe has to say. I think I realize what Blackbeard's plan is. He's using Kobe as bait to lure in Garp, whose memories he intends to steal by using Pudding's Devil Fruit ability, Pudding's power. He'll do this in order to access information on God Valley, and then use Moria's power to resurrect someone by putting a shadow into their corpse. Oda might be cooking an Edo Tensei to resurrect the Rox Pirates or Rox himself in some capacity just like Ryuma was. Or maybe as an alternative, Blackbeard may be planning to access Garp's memories in order to find a particular devil fruit. The majority of mythical zones might be connected to God Valley. This could be the reason Rox invaded in the first place. And so to add what Joe said about Rox going to God Valley, what if it was not only to challenge the gods by attacking the celestial dragons and so God himself, Imusama, the king of the world, which Rox wanted to become? Check out my Darkest One Piece Theory on YouTube video to understand more. But what if Rox was also seeking to obtain the power of a god that would be needed to defeat the god of the One Piece world? Many have compared Rox Dizabek to Monkey D. Dragon. The silhouette of Rox Dizabek curiously resembles Monkey D. Dragon after all. Could Rox have been the original revolutionary chasing after taboo knowledge? Just like the so-called devils of Ohara, the Ohara scholars. The devil did defy God after all, and Rox did so as well, even attacking the gods, the celestial dragons on God Valley. This sounds like revolution to me, uprising, just as Dragon has repeatedly expressed interest in the activities of the celestial dragons as well as hatred for them. Now, some of Joe's theory might seem like a reach, but combined with my own ideas, maybe there's an element of truth somewhere to be found. But going back to what Joe said about Pudding, I mean, she must serve some purpose, right? Why was she captured? One is unlocking her third eye's power to read the poneglyphs. Maybe Blackbeard needs that. Or maybe it is really to steal and read people's memories. The crazy thing is what you can do if you give somebody fake memories. It reminds me of one of those curses from Harry Potter, bending people's minds to your will. But as for Pudding's power to influence people's memories, I stumbled on this when looking over chapter 957. Sengoku says information about the Rox pirates only exist in the memories of a few soldiers in our generation, a few of the Marines. Garp would be one of them, one of the Marines with memories from that time. Understand the God Valley incident led Garp to become a hero of the Marines, as the defeat of Xebec D. Rox was attributed to him, it would seem, even though Goldie Roger played a role. That should remind you of Kobe becoming a Marine hero after the Rocky Port incident, even though Law appears to have helped Kobe, as Law was the mastermind of the Rocky Port incident. But notice that Blackbeard was involved in the Rocky Port incident as well. Also notice the connection between Rocky Port and the Rox pirates, Rock and Rocky. Blackbeard, though, as the man that appears to have inherited Xebec's will. If history is repeating itself in this reckless era, to borrow a coin of phrase from Shanks, could there be another convening of the Marines to take down Rox Dizabek, or rather Blackbeard, with Sengoku joining in the fight, since he cares about Law as an extension of Corazon? although we don't really know what happened to Law just yet. But just as Garp personally trained Koby, just like Garp and Sengoku once fought side by side against the former Rocks pirate Shiki, the Golden Lion, as well as together against Blackbeard on Marineford. But this time, Blackbeard as a stand-in for Rocks might win. The historical or real-life Blackbeard did have a flagship, or main ship known as Queen Anne's Revenge. Queen Anne's Revenge was an early 18th century ship, most famously used as a flagship by Edward Teach, and so Marshall D. Teach. Edward Teach, better known by his nickname Blackbeard. This ship of the real-life Blackbeard, the Queen Anne's Revenge, has a curious flag with a devil stabbing at a heart and 3 dots on it. Imagine if this meant, as you probably already heard before, 3 devil fruits taken from the hearts of 3 different people, 3 dead men, or at least 3 devil fruit souls. But also the flag of Queen Anne's Revenge with 3 dots or 3 hearts mirroring the 3 skulls on the flag of the One Piece Blackbeard. In One Piece, Blackbeard's main ship will be interesting to see, but his flagship is called the Saber of Xebec, and so the Sword of Xebec. And we all know that swords, blades like Zoro's and others, have inherited wills, don't they? Just like Kuina's sword, the Wado Ichimonji, that carries Kuina's dream. Perhaps they even come with a curse, like devil fruits. Perhaps they even come with a promise and a dream. Could it be that Blackbeard has the pirate ship that used to belong to Rocks, or am I mistaken on that? But if the Saber of Xebec is alluding to the real-life Blackbeard having a ship called Queen Anne's Revenge, then is Blackbeard after revenge for Rocks D. Xebec? Or is Blackbeard's ambition indirectly tied to this notion of revenge via, as I said, an inheritance of will? Just a coincidence, just like Luffy in the same words as Roger, as well as the return of Joy Boy. They just happen to align. And Blackbeard might be about to get revenge for Rocks against Garp, just as Garp might be the perfect opportunity for us to get a flashback of the era. The dark and violent pirate era of Rocks and what really happened during the God Valley incident. Who knows, maybe there are some other things that Garp has kept hidden, aside from Roger's role in helping the Marines to defeat Rocks. Or maybe Garp knows that Rocks didn't truly die. Do you also think that Garp knows about Shanks just like we think the Gorosei do? How Shanks was found in a treasure chest after God Valley. Now it's also possible that Blackbeard isn't concerned with Garp at all. Maybe Koby is special in some way. Maybe Blackbeard noticed this during Marineford when Koby managed to somehow temporarily stop the war, before Shanks himself really stopped the war. Maybe Koby has memories of something and that's why Blackbeard kidnapped Pudding, but that's less likely. It could just be something as simple as catching wind of the news that Buggy had started a mercenary operation to collect bounties on high-ranking Marines, and Koby, like Garp, is now known as a Marine hero in some respects. And so Blackbeard just wants to collect the bounty that might exist in Koby's head, and this would be our first look at a Marine bounty. I would also love some sort of alliance between Blackbeard and Buggy, wouldn't you? And leave Luffy and Shanks to align with each other. But our first look at a Marine bounty, Koby's bounty. Or again, Blackbeard's plan could be far more sinister. Oda, after all, does everything for a reason, but as usual, we will have to wait and see. And don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts below, share this with your friends, and subscribe. Also click the notification bell. And if you have a Twitter, feel free to give me a follow on there as well. As always, there is more to come. Until next time.